We have one last chance left. Either we must win or we shouldn't play football at all. Come on! Today is the day that will remain in history. This is ours. "34 years. We dreamed of this and finally achieved it."
On October 1863, in foggy Albion, in the heart of London, there was no significant building standing here as there is today. Instead, the Freemason Tavern stood on this very spot. On that day, representatives of English football clubs gathered there and changed the history of football forever. It was there that they created the first official rules of the game. So we can confidently say that the history of modern football began in England. But then the question arises: where did the history of Uzbek football begin? The answer is surprisingly simple: in the city of Kokand. And right now we are traveling directly from London to Kokand. In 1912, right here in Kokand, the very first football team in the history of Uzbekistan was founded. It was more commonly known as Mus Komanda, meaning the Muslim team. In this documentary, we will trace the history of Uzbek football, from the earliest beginnings to the nation's historic qualification for the FIFA World Cup. Along the way, we'll speak to leading experts and ask them some important questions. Why do older generations regard the Soviet era as the golden age of Uzbek football? What obstacles stood in the way of reaching the World Cup? What challenges and hidden struggles remained unknown to the public, not only among the players, but among the fans as well? And what events, beginning in 2016, completely transformed the course of Uzbek football? You will discover all this in today's documentary. Why is Kokand regarded as the birthplace of Uzbek football?
At that time, our people actually learned the game from soldiers who came from Russia and settled here. After Hudayar Khan's palace was destroyed by Russia, a military garrison and training ground were established there. Russian officers and soldiers started playing football. Speaking broken Uzbek, they would say, "The English game is good, let's play it together." That's how football matches between Uzbek boys and Russian boys began. And gradually, football started developing in Kokand. People probably played football before that as well, in Tashkent, in neighborhoods and on the streets, but I think Kokand had the first officially registered team. I think one reason Mus Komanda developed was that they first played among themselves and later often played against Russian soldiers. The first Uzbek football team was founded in 1912. Unofficially, people referred to it as Mus Komanda, the Muslim team. Officially, however, the team was known as Fergana II. So the question is, why not Fergana I? In 1912, two football teams were established in Kokand. At that time, Kokand was one of the central cities of the Fergana region. To avoid limiting the identity to Kokand, they named the society Fergana Football Society. But discrimination soon emerged. Uzbeks were not accepted into the team where Russians played. After appealing to wealthy patrons and reformist intellectuals, Uzbek boys eventually secured the creation of a separate team made up of Uzbek players. As a result, the Russian team became known as Fergana 1, while the Uzbek team became known as Fergana 2.
This is how Uzbek football was born. Children in Kokand played football in neighborhoods across the city. But how did this simple pastime become an organized sport?
Many football teams were formed in Kokand. The Muslim team assigned one member to each neighborhood and instructed them to organize football there. As a result, 12 football teams appeared in the old city of Kokand. Progress always speaks for itself. There were no footballs. People would make a ball out of cloth and play with it. Then they realized real football was actually professional football. After the war period, football became much more meaningful for our people. Before that, football couldn't really develop. By the 1960s, with the emergence of Pelé and other football stars, and with World Cup matches being shown on television, football entered an evolutionary stage. Uzbek football followed the same path. For example, Pakhtakor was established in 1956 as the first major football team, but public interest had been growing gradually even before then.
Everyone knows that Pakhtakor Stadium was built here in Tashkent in 1956. But before Pakhtakor was built, did a stadium known as Spartak once stand here in the old city?
Absolutely correct. To our right, in the very center of Tashkent in Eski Juva, there used to be Spartak Stadium. It was completed in 1934. Before Pakhtakor, all central matches were held there. Later, Pakhtakor was built on the foundation of Spartak. Most Spartak players moved to Pakhtakor. In 1928, Uzbekistan's national team participated in the Spartakiad. They played against Sweden and won 8-4. In 1955, a Spartakiad was held in Tashkent among Central Asian republics and Kazakhstan. Uzbekistan's team took first place.
He was one of Pakhtakor's first Uzbek goalkeepers. But why did he choose the stage over football? Today he serves as a director of the Uzbek National Academic Drama Theatre you see behind me. Everyone knows you as an actor, but few know that you were one of the first Uzbek goalkeepers in Uzbek football history.
At the end of December 1964, I was invited to join the Pakhtakor football team. There were Uzbek defenders, midfielders, and forwards, but there wasn't an Uzbek goalkeeper yet. At that time, they accepted me as the first Uzbek goalkeeper. Little by little, I became part of the team, and everyone kept saying, Yodgor, Yodgor, Yodgor. Later, there were also Krasnitsky and Stanislav Stadnik, stars of Soviet football at that time. They struggled to pronounce Yodgor and jokingly started saying, "Now, you are our Yashin." Of course, I liked it because Lev Yashin was one of the greatest goalkeepers in the world. Before the 1965 season began, Sharof Rashidov, then the first secretary of the Communist Party of Uzbekistan, met with the entire team. They introduced me saying, "Here is one of the first Uzbek goalkeepers, Yodgor Saadiyev." I was extremely proud of that. Back then, my mind was occupied only with football. The same was true for the other players. Everything was about football and about representing Uzbekistan with dignity. I played many matches for the reserve team, but in the senior team I mostly stayed on the bench. Then my father, he had come to this theater first back in 1929. Probably blood called to blood. Gradually, something kept pulling me here. On April 4th, 1964, I submitted my resignation from the team. I collected all my documents from the Institute of Culture and enrolled in the Theater of Fine Arts Institute. Leaving football was extremely difficult, but my love for football became the spark that ultimately led me to art.
Many people believe the Soviet era was the golden age of Uzbek football. But was it reality or merely a legend? Why do older generations still see that period as the peak of Uzbek football? Why do older generations regard the Soviet era as the golden age of Uzbek football?
First of all, teams across the USSR were strong. We had good players. That's why the Soviet Union became Olympic champion in 1956 and European champion in 1960.
Первый матч чемпионата Советского Союза по футболу. Ташкентский «Пахтакор» принимает чемпиона страны московскую команду «Торпедо».
The quality back then matched the world's strongest leagues. Each football school had its own distinctive style of play. Moscow clubs feared Pakhtakor. For them, the most uncomfortable opponent was Pakhtakor, not Dynamo Kiev, not Dynamo Tbilisi. Pakhtakor could score 5 goals against teams that had won European Cups. I even scored against Lev Yashin, both here in Moscow. When we were 15 to 16 years old, there was only Pakhtakor. Fans would do anything for Pakhtakor. That's why Pakhtakor Stadium regularly gathered 50,000 to 60,000 spectators, especially when stronger teams visited. In 1966, Pakhtakor finished its first season undefeated. That reflected the high level of football at that time. Our ball control stood out. In Moscow, they called us Asian Brazilians. Every child interested in football dreamed of at least one thing, at least to wear the Pakhtakor jersey. Some people later stopped watching Pakhtakor. When I asked the reason, they said, now they play local teams. Back then, they played teams from Ukraine and Russia. The emotions were different. All the best footballers in Uzbekistan gathered at Pakhtakor. They still formed a competitive and fighting squad capable of supplying players to the USSR national team. That's why getting into the national team was incredibly difficult. We beat Spartak Moscow, Dynamo Moscow, even CSKA in Moscow. Nostalgia is a powerful thing. Everyone remembers the football of their youth with special fondness. Every match felt like a World Cup final and the stars seemed larger than life. That is why older generations look back on those years with such nostalgia.
I came across this historic picture in your family museum. Could you tell us about it?
Our friends Anvar, Khodrjon, Dilshod, Zohut, and all-known Deputy Minister of Culture, Bahodir Majidovich Akhmedov, played on the same team. In 1986 World Cup in Mexico, Chambal chess, as I still remember, remains one of the most vivid memories. From that moment on, my love for football grew tremendously. Our school number 41, had 2 stadiums, one small and one large. Football was played every day. There were children's and youth championships. At that time, there was all-country leather ball, Kozhenny мяч, national tournament. We even represented Tashkent and traveled to championship. If I'm not mistaken, it was held in Sarosio, the city of Dushanbe, and I played as midfielder.
There is one day in the history of Uzbek football that remains painful to this day. We are now at the Pakhtakor 79 Memorial Complex. This memorial honors the legends of Uzbek football. How much did the Pakhtakor tragedy of 1979 set back the development of Uzbek football?
Not for the camera. It was a devastating blow. It set us back for many, many years. That tragedy struck at the roots of Uzbek football. At least 20 to 30 years were lost. The talent and experience of those players would have helped raise future generations as coaches and managers. The painful part is that generation truly was strong, not only because they died, but because every line of the team already had leaders. Other teams feared them. At that time, they couldn't realize where the team will show up. It was an enormous loss that cannot be evaluated. Uzbekistan's hopes disappeared with them. I think it really pushed us back by 10 to 15 years. After the air disaster, many parents, I think, stopped allowing their children to become footballers. I think Uzbek football declined after 1979 because of that. That's why I think it took us many years to achieve major success. The first Soviet championship match played by the new Pakhtakor was against Dynamo Tbilisi. That day, Dynamo lost in Tashkent. Years later, a Sport Express journalist asked David Kipiani, a Dynamo Tbilisi captain, football legend, about fixed matches. Kipiani replied, "Unwillingly, I never accepted fixed matches. I considered them betrayal." Then he asked, "What about August 1979 in Tashkent?" His answer has stayed with me ever since. If you had known those boys and understood how much people loved them, you would never ask that question. We simply could not beat Pakhtakor in their honor. That speaks volumes about what Pakhtakor meant.
This is Fizkulturnik Uzbekistana, an official Soviet newspaper. And now I'm holding an original copy in my hands. The tragedy was officially reported on 15 August 1979. Yet the crash occurred on 11 of August. Meanwhile, New York Cosmos had already sent its condolence on the very same day. So, why did the Soviet media wait 4 days? Some conspiracy theories suggest that the tragedy may not have been an accident at all.
I don't think so. Deliberately crashing two airplanes into each other simply makes no sense. There were other ways to achieve that goal, easier ways. It's simply a strategy. I've heard theories online claiming political involvement by Ukrainian Dynamo Kyiv fan, the first secretary of the Communist Party who allegedly arranged the crash, but those are only assumptions. No, honestly, I don't believe that. There were many ordinary passengers on board besides Pakhtakor. No hidden force at that time could have orchestrated such a thing. Human beings can't be that cruel, I think. Maybe football in the USSR was growing rapidly at that time. I think it was more of a human factor issue. Most likely, air traffic controllers made mistakes. It was fate, a tragic coincidence.
Why didn't our historic victory in Hiroshima have a lasting impact? What conditions was our national team playing under at the time? And perhaps most importantly, what kind of kit were the players wearing?
Young people today wouldn't believe it. The national team went there with only one set of uniforms. Before the first match, there's usually a meeting to compare uniforms and equipment. White socks, white shorts, blue shirts. We played all 7 matches in the same shirts. If I remember correctly, in Hiroshima we stayed on the 19th or 20th floor. We washed the jerseys and hung them along the railings. We guarded them like an apple of our eye because we had no replacements. After matches, opponents would come and say, "Let's exchange shirts." We would say, "No, sorry, we don't exchange shirts." Because if someone gave away his shirt, he wouldn't be able to play the next day. Could football really develop systematically under such conditions? Even the team's participation in the tournament was in doubt. No one truly believed that the football team would win a medal before the Asian Games. In addition, our country had only recently gained independence and there were many other sectors that required development. As a result, football was left among the lower priorities. Just happened that there was a special generation at that time. Those players, those coaches, everyone involved. If you look at history, every single player was truly a big name in his own right. The victory of 1994, it came at a time when representatives of the older football school, those who had played in the former Soviet system for Pakhtakor in those championships, 7 matches, 7 victories. Our total number of gold medals reached 13. The final was played before the closing ceremony of the Asian Games. Everyone watched it in that stadium. Uzbekistan versus China. Now imagine China had won 100 gold medals at those Asian Games. A week later, during the state visit of Uzbekistan's first president to China, the host reportedly said, "I would gladly exchange all 100 of our gold medals for your one football gold," because the whole world saw that victory. That success brought us joy and achievements, but in some ways it also worked against us. After that, expectations became different. Very quickly, extremely quickly, we came back down to earth. 2 years later, we felt the blow. We couldn't even get out of the group, playing against teams like Lebanon and failing hurt. Then came the 1998 World Cup qualifiers in 1997. We suffered painful and heavy defeats. That's when people realized football needs systematic development. Changes began inside football leadership too. Not continuing to develop after 1994 victory was actually normal.
Between 2005 and 2016, Uzbekistan came within touching distance of the FIFA World Cup. At times, the difference was just 1 point, at others, a single goal. So what was holding Uzbek football back?
I think there were mistakes along the way. Small mistakes. One cost us a point, another cost us a goal. Didn't they win the match 2-1? It's a pity. That's unfortunate. We were just behind the time a little bit. We were moving the right direction. Infrastructure was being created, but gradually people would gossip. Some would say matches were arranged.
Who was the victory awarded to? Was it pre-arranged?
People would say games were arranged beforehand. Those rumors existed. Before the 2006 World Cup in Germany, Uzbekistan faced Bahrain in a World Cup qualifier. The match had to be replayed. It finished 1-1 in Tashkent and draws there. The away goals rule existed. Bahrain advanced and played Trinidad and Tobago. We arrived in Bahrain in great spirit and believed we would win. After training the day before, we returned to the hotel. Unexpectedly, we were told we're going back to Tashkent. Why? That's when we learned the match in Tashkent had been annulled and would be replayed a week later. The replay against Bahrain, there was injustice, there was a refereeing error, and the decisions that followed worked against us. In January at the Commonwealth Championships Cup in Moscow, when FIFA President Sepp Blatter visited, we spoke. One of our football federation officials later said that Blatter had apologized to Uzbekistan. If we had started the work we began 6 to 7 years ago, 20 or 30 years earlier, if football had been treated as one of the most important sectors, perhaps the results would have been different. Maybe now we wouldn't ask, how do we play against football giants? Instead, would we ask, how do we beat them? To be honest, there were corruption issues, there were match-fixing cases, there were unfair refereeing situations, there was interference in squad selection. Maybe because of our foundation wasn't strong enough, we still weren't ready to reach the World Cup then. From my own analysis, not everyone in the football system, fans included, truly wanted it enough. We should have played with more passion and determination ourselves, but it wasn't only bad luck. Stronger teams moved ahead of us. I can confidently say that generation had players worthy of playing at the World Cup. We had one last chance. Either we had to win or stop playing football. Sometimes attention went to the wrong places. Small details mattered. Also, today Asia has 8.5 World Cup spots. Back then, we always finished 5th or 6th. The teams we competed with had started their journey earlier. We weren't competing with Kuwait or Bahrain. We competed with South Korea, Japan, Iran, Saudi Arabia, countries that had built their systems over many years. From 2005 to 2016, basically one squad kept playing. There weren't enough young players replacing the older generation. Our older generation was incredibly strong. Odil Ahmedov, Server Jeparov, Aziz Haydarov, Timur Kapadze, Nestorov. That generation deserved to qualify for the World Cup. If there had been 8 qualification places back then, that team might have reached the World Cup. I personally played those matches. Something was always missing, but every cycle we built a good team. I wouldn't say we lacked strength, just something was always missing. It's hard to point to one reason. People worked hard, the squad was great, coaches were good, maybe we lacked luck, or maybe players made mistakes. In a team game like football, you need World Cup caliber players in every position. People ask if Uzbekistan is a football country with 37 to 38 million people, why not? Maybe we simply didn't have enough coaches capable of developing that talent. People think players alone decide everything, but there are many people behind the scene. Their decisions affect football as well. Their actions, it anyway impacts our football system.
Around 2009, world-class stars such as Rivaldo came to play in Uzbekistan. Did their presence have a lasting impact on our football?
Many people learned from it. Some say that we wasted money. Maybe that's partly true. But when it comes to speaking about Scolari, he truly showed his world class as a coach. At that time, Bunyodkor chose a path that could be seen as attracting the world's attention to us through those invited stars. I don't think the benefits matched the amount of money spent. If stars like Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, Ronaldo, Eto'o had come, young kids would have seen them, absorbed their energy, and been inspired to follow their path. It had contributed to promote Uzbek football. Before, for instance, not many people used to attend Bunyodkor matches, but after those stars arrived, crowds began to grow. The stadium started to fill up. At that time, matches between Bunyodkor, coached by Scolari, and their rival Pakhtakor became real derby-level events. I think it gave a strong push. You know how in relay races one runner passes the baton to another, looking at them, feeling that European football atmosphere. Players like Rivaldo became role models for many. Whether we talk about Danielson or others, our players who played side by side with them, Server Jeparov, Temur Kapadze and others, grew as footballers. The rivalry became so intense that Pakhtakor fans started criticizing club legends who transferred to Bunyodkor. They put pressure on them, conflicts appeared on the field between former teammates and national team partners. People enjoyed drama, and all of this became part of the show. That's why during those years Server Jeparov won the award for Asia's best footballer twice. To bring Uzbek football to a new level, a new stage of development. And because of that, more people started recognizing us. Sport promotes a country. If people know you, that matters. Sport and culture. That period marked Uzbekistan's clubs entering professional football at a different level. From 2008 onward, development accelerated significantly and their contribution was major. Leaving aside the financial side, it was excellent PR.
After decades of repeating the same mistakes, Uzbek football reached a turning point in 2016. So, what changed after 2016? What do you think? What exactly changed after 2016 that transformed Uzbek football?
We started taking football much more seriously. Not only players, as I said before, people behind football also became more professional. Leadership at that time changed. The officials responsible for Uzbek football changed. That was the most important thing. One of the biggest achievements was bringing our international relationships to an entirely new level. I think the most correct move was eliminating corruption in football. That process was started at the national level. I haven't seen this anywhere else. I've been to Brazil and other countries. Usually there are 2 or 3 pitches and dormitories. But here we have 7, 8, even 9 football fields. Thankfully, I was part of this process. By 2018, I was coaching the U23 team. We won the Asian Cup in China and brought the trophy back to Uzbekistan. The snowy battle we played in white kits in the first half and blue kits in the second half, that's why it stayed in memory, and scoring in the final made it even more special.
Top yuqorida yetkazib berildi. Gol! Birinchi uchrashuvning 8-daqiqasida Rustam Ashurmatov hisobni ochishga muvaffaq bo'lyapti. Markaziy himoyachi.
O'rinda qo'qon 1912da mavsum davomida qilmagan ishini qil, mana shu mavsum. Top jarmacha yetkazib ber. Gol! Gol! Ziyadara!
Speaking frankly, I personally took football under my control. We cleaned things up inside, young boys without any connections, ordinary talented kids, nobody behind them. We even had some boys from Kashqadarya. If there is justice and no corruption, football showed what becomes possible. Attention to youth became much better. Previously, we had youth success as well. We performed well at the U17 World Cup, but almost none of those players consistently reached the national team. To prevent repeating that mistake, a step-by-step national team developed system was introduced. The attitude changed fundamentally. New people came and opened a new path. That movement eventually led to qualification to the World Cup. First of all, the system was completely rebuilt. Professional teams were formed for every age category so that talents discovered in youth football would not be lost before reaching the national team.
Misli ko'rilmagan qahramonlik bilan O'zbekiston o'smirlar terma jamoasi g'alabaga erishyapti.
Voy do'stlar, qanday tarix yozildi bu futbolchilar, boshqacha futbolchilar. Osiyoda mana shunday g'alaba qozonishdi. 9 futbolchi bo'lib, bitta taym o'tkazishdi, 2 ta gol urishdi do'stlar. Bunaqasi umuman, masalan, necha yoshli futbol muxlisi sizga savol. Ko'rganmiz shunaqasini, ko'rgan bo'lsangiz yozing. O'zbekiston o'smirlar yoshlar terma jamoasi bilan bu yuz beryapti.
Avvallari biz
Before, if we reached the World Cup, we would celebrate wildly. If we made Asians top 4, that was enough. We didn't even expect medals, reach a semi-final, and we thought we were amazing. But now, whether U23, U20 or U17, now we expect Uzbekistan to reach finals. The most important thing is conditions. Athletes need proper conditions, especially coaches. Only then can players develop and reach higher levels. That definitely played its role.
Shu narsalar baribir o'zini rolini o'ynadi deb bilaman.
Many football bases were built. Infrastructure improved across regions. Football truly started receiving more attention. Back in our time, the national team didn't even have its own home. Now there is a center, dormitories, fields, facilities. Before we had to call people asking to borrow pitches and buses. Today everything exists and results are coming too.
Joy bormi, yo'qmi? Xudoga shukr, hozir hamma sharoitlar bor. O'shanga yarasha ham yutuqli bo'lyapti.
International tournaments are being held in Uzbekistan. Asian Championships, the Futsal World Cup. Next year, together with Kyrgyzstan, will host U20 World Cup. That's development too. It's about building a proper system. Everything begins with training and education. More focus was placed on youth football, and now we see it works. Systematic work always leads to results.
Мы всегда знали, что системный подход к делу, он всегда приносит к хорошим результатам.
Even simple things changed. Before bringing drums into stadiums was difficult. Fans had problems with access. After 2016, things became easier. Supporter culture developed. After the new leadership arrived, they gathered footballers and asked how things could improve. We wanted foreign coaches and stronger academy development. Better academies mean more competition, because if the system works well, if you pay a better attention to youth club football, competition improves. Whenever we presented football development projects, the president supported initiatives and even added his own ideas himself, complemented and enhanced the development strategies. In 2016, we corrected half of our mistakes. It took nearly another 10 years to fix the rest. That's when our players found new determination.
O'sha xatolarni hammasini to'g'rilash uchun. Lekin yigitlarimizda shajoat paydo bo'ldi.
Infrastructure improved. You can see it through younger teams. Different age groups started qualifying for Asian championships and regularly reaching World Cups. Gradually, it paid off. One of our biggest weaknesses used to be fitness. Asian coaches said Uzbekistan played strongly for 70 minutes and then dropped sharply. Why? Physical preparation wasn't enough. Now that changed. We can keep tempo for 120 minutes, showing how the younger generation developed under a stronger system.
There was a time when qualifying for the World Cup or the Olympic Games seemed little more than a dream. Yet in 2024, a new generation made history by reaching the Paris Olympics. In 2024, Uzbekistan's football team made history by qualifying for the Paris Olympics. So, what made this achievement possible?
An Olympic team was built from players of Olympic age. Step by step, over 3 to 4 years, that team gradually took shape. I think the main reason was the system. The system finally started working. A coach was appointed who could unlock the players' potential and help them grow. They entrusted me with the team, and I said, all right, but I said I wouldn't take already established top players from clubs. At that time, there were talented players stuck in reserve teams. I gathered those players and prepared them. Over 3.5 years, we worked with one dream, reaching the Olympics. There was always uncertainty whether we would actually make it. We tested everyone. The players learned what each teammate was capable of. And after so many years, since 1994, for the first time we won a bronze medal at the Asian Games. In my opinion, our team was formed extremely well. The atmosphere inside the team, the coaches, the players, doctors, administrators, massage staff, everyone became one family. That's one of the reasons we achieved such a result.
Zarba yo'lladi. Yaxshi imkoniyat, darvoza bo'sh. Gol, avtogol. 2-0. Parij bizni kutib oldi.
Sometimes an exceptionally strong generation comes along. The same happens in boxing, in other sports. You can plant a tree and 1 year it gives fruit, another year it doesn't. There were years when we came very close, just like the World Cup, where sometimes one goal was missing. There were times when one goal separated us from the Olympics too. We always played but always missed the Olympics. As I said before, the attention given from 2016 onward produced results in 2024. Players were sent to international tournaments. They gained experience against strong teams. By the time major tournaments arrived, they were ready. There were players who truly created competition inside the project. A united group was formed step by step. They were prepared specifically for the Olympics. We increased competition. I think Olympic qualification happened through huge effort and careful planning. We supported the team as fans, and I also want to thank the leadership for creating conditions that allowed us to do that. Abdulqadir Husanov was brought from Lens. Abbosbek Faizullayev came from CSKA Moscow. After qualification, the players were finally allowed to go home. We reached the finals against Japan. At the end, we missed the penalty and lost painfully. Even the president later joked emotionally, "Couldn't you have given me the ball? I would have scored it." After missing that penalty, I couldn't sleep for 3 days. I kept thinking I should have taken it myself. Why should one ball decide everything? They showed great skill. I spoke to many of them and sent messages. Of course, we always want immediate championships, but for the first time our team qualified for the Olympics. That itself is a major achievement. Talent, attention, a good project is there. At that time the project worked because first we simply had to qualify. Timur Kapadze did tremendous work together with the team. He also matured as a coach. After qualification I spoke with Timur at the airport. He said something memorable. "Brother, for the first time in many years, I finally got a good night's sleep after we secured our place at the Olympics." Thank God, for the first time in history, we qualified for the Olympics. We were lucky to achieve it. We fulfilled the trust and dreams that leadership and fans placed in us. We were happy.
When you heard that Uzbekistan had qualified for the FIFA World Cup, what was your first reaction?
It was an incredible feeling of happiness. Someone recorded my emotions. It's hard to control yourself in moments like that. Our young players, they passed through all the stages and finally earned the honor of qualifying for the World Cup. Because Uzbekistan deserved this honor. I kept saying, we will make history, we can do this. We just need to believe in ourselves. Before every match we tried to plant that belief into the players' minds until it became automatic. We were among the older players in the team. Let's show once again today that we are a family. Millions of people in Uzbekistan are waiting for us. We cannot keep our heads down anymore. Today should become a celebration for every Uzbek. Everyone must understand this. Today is the day that will remain in history. We gathered in a small room. 4 of us watched together. Then everyone started hugging each other. And we were incredibly happy. As the final whistle approached, the time was running out quickly. The ball went out of play. The Arab players brought it back to us themselves. It was as if they were saying, "Come on, get the games restarted." Before, it had always been the other way around. The wheel had turned. We won. The draw felt like a victory. And in football, there is a term called parking the bus. It's like when everyone plays defense and you kick the ball elsewhere. We didn't do that. Right before the whistle, we started realizing what was happening. Then Davron delivered his famous speech about 34 years. A third commentator even jumped in. If you bring anyone to the cabin, it was the day one could say anything they want. According to the rule, 3 commentators are not allowed. That day, anything felt possible. Because I spent so much time with these players, I knew their emotions, I knew what they had gone through, what tests they had to overcome. Coaches changed, many things changed, all those emotions came together. I had a chance to express my emotions. The whistle went off, I spoke out everything I felt, and I had only a moment to do so. I simply let them out. I hadn't planned anything in advance. And is that the whistle? We are at the World Cup. We are at the World Cup. Congratulations, friends, we reached our dream. 34 years we dreamed and finally achieved it. Through work, through patience, Congratulations to all of Uzbekistan. This victory belongs to all of us. Every viewer standing in front of the screen. This is your victory. Uzbekistan proved it. At that moment, many colleagues who had dreamed of this came to my mind. Late Akhbar Imamxo'jayev, Davlatbek Turdaliyev, and others, because we had talked about this hundreds of times. Our dream was always Uzbekistan to reach the World Cup. Wherever we went, fans always asked us, "You're inside football, tell us when we will reach finally the World Cup." For Uzbekistan, certainly it felt like something inside me straightened up. Now we are among those countries. We feel pride, excitement. We even feel like crying from happiness. I was truly happy for our national team. When I participated in World Cups as a referee, I always dreamed of seeing Uzbekistan's national team there. Like every ordinary citizen among our 38 million people, I lived with that dream. I was overwhelmed with emotions. I was supposed to take pictures, capture every moment, but I couldn't think. I just kept counting the added minutes and thinking, please let it end. I didn't even take a proper photo. When the whistle blew, I ran onto the pitch. Making one person happy is already meaningful, but making an entire country happy as part of our football team, I was incredibly proud. That day, I felt exactly like someone who had personally won. You can't sleep afterward, you try to sleep but you can't, because this was years of waiting, years of pain, years of unfulfilled dreams. There was a joke once by famous Hojiboy Tojiboyev, if only we could reach the World Cup and go and eat the ice cream at least. Now, God willing, that dream actually became real. You can't explain this with words, only a person who experienced it understands. This belongs to all Uzbekistan football fans. God willing, may we present ourselves proudly at the World Cup too.
Some skeptics argue that Uzbekistan reached the World Cup only because FIFA expanded the tournament. How true is that?
But which place did Uzbekistan qualify from in Asia? We didn't qualify as 7th or 8th, not because there were 8.5 places. Previously, yes, maybe if there had been 8 places, we would have qualified earlier, but we are not that old Uzbekistan anymore. People will always gossip. Let's go back to 2005. One single moment changed everything. Now, the right time came. But this must continue, and the wheel always turns. Reaching the World Cup isn't enough. We must stay there. That doesn't depend on one player. It's, of course, collective. First of all, skeptics saw how we qualified and against whom. We qualified confidently because our belief in ourselves, saying it happened only because it expanded spots, is wrong. Even with expanded spots, we still could have failed. Our first qualification campaign was for France 1998, which itself expanded from 24 to 32 teams. That didn't help Uzbekistan then. Being part of an expanded tournament still requires earning your spot.
Yordam berganiga yordam bergan, yordam bermaganiga yordam bermagan. Bu kengaygan ro'yxatga kirish ham bordi.
To'g'ri, balkim kvota.
Maybe quotas increased, but perhaps it simply became our time. Maybe this was God's blessing.
Bu balkim bitta Xudoning lutfidir.
There may be a small factor there, but remember our opponents, Iran, regular World Cup participants. Qatar already hosted and played in the World Cup, and they have the development, they have developed system. and United Arab Emirates that are also strong. We had worthy opponents and still made it through. This belongs to everyone. But we qualified directly. We didn't finish behind and then win extra playoff matches. If that had happened, maybe people could say quotas helped, but we solved the group directly, so we deserve qualification. Even without expansion, maybe we still would have qualified, because our team became stronger overall. We were already a World Cup level team. Even under the old 4-team system, we had enough quality. Quota expansion has nothing to do with the team.
Men o'ylashim bo'yicha hozirgi terma jamoa kvotani hech qanaqa aloqasi yo'q.
The road to the World Cup was far from easy. There were obstacles at every turn, and particularly ahead of the decisive match in the United Arab Emirates. We know very well how fans were left in tears, and you were there. So just one question: what exactly happened that time?
Everyone did everything for Uzbekistan to win. Well, all the problems started at the airport. Our passports were collected. About 150 fans arrived, and we realized passports disappear, and all of us were delayed. The police would arrest someone who would complain, and then we can see 30 supporters couldn't leave. Well, we also witnessed the buses deliberately took longer routes, and when we reached the stadium, many Uzbek fans still couldn't enter. Police is everywhere. Whenever you complain, they would arrest you and put you in the bus. So I tried to calm them down. About 40 of our fans stayed outside, and I stayed with them. And we waited patiently. About 80 fans entered the stadium, and the final whistle came, the draw. I simply cried because this was Uzbekistan. All difficulties disappeared, and in the end, after all, the United Arab Emirates themselves didn't qualify. I was simply happy we qualified. Congratulations to all, we did it, we qualified.
This chant has never been heard before. You are hearing it first exclusively on our channel.
Uzbekistan, may you long live, may our souls be given to you. We will never change our love for you for anything in this world. La 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 la. New Uzbekistan is the best. World Cup, World Cup, World Cup.
This unique stadium, built on the personal initiative of the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, is a symbol of the country's future. Because the future is shaped not only by modern infrastructure, but by talented people. And the main question now is, how do we sustain and build on this success?
Now we already have facilities. Next, we must improve quality. Especially people and specialists. Qualifying for the World Cup doesn't mean we reached our destination. We are only at the beginning. Next time, the national team should qualify without making everyone nervous. Play boldly and beat anyone. Children start football at 6 or 7. Football should remain number one even when they become 30, at 20, 25, any age. Too often people achieve something and football becomes secondary. That is wrong. We need to become a true football nation. We shouldn't rush. One World Cup qualification doesn't guarantee future ones. God willing, soon we can become Asian champions in the nearest future. other teams should eventually fear Uzbekistan national football team the way the teams now fear from Korea and Japan.
Shunaqa qo'rqish holatigacha yetib borishingizga ishonchim komil.
How important will foreign languages be in shaping the next generation of Uzbek football stars?
Parents play a huge role. Parents shouldn't ask, "Why do you need this?" They should encourage languages. Football academies now teach English. The idea is that when players become legionnaires abroad, they are ready. All the conditions are there. The English instructors are also here. So we instructed to teach English and history separately.
Today, Uzbekistan is witnessing the construction of more and more modern football academies across the country. But when it comes to developing the next generation of footballers, what matters more, natural talent or the system that helps nurture it?
Both. This is all interconnected. But above all, hard work in football, discipline, nutrition, constant effort. Parents and players will see the results later. Today, I would place hard work first.
Futbolda bugungi kunda mehnatni birinchi o'ringa qo'ygan bo'ladi.
What do young Uzbek footballers lack today?
First of all, discipline. Behind every positive result, football or any profession, discipline must exist. Without discipline, there is no success.
It is a very interesting fact that the first FIFA World Cup was held in Uruguay in 1930. Nearly a century later, Uzbekistan will finally take its place on football's biggest stage. And today, this dream even has its own anthem. And now, the song will be performed by a very famous Uzbek singer, Anvar Jurayev, a member of the legendary group Sahar.
Eyes are reverted on you, not like yesterday. Don't be distracted from your high goal. Today everything is different. Hello World Cup. Hello, hey world. Uzbekistan enters the field. Uzbekistan.
Sen bilan birga, shiddat bilan o'yna. Salom mundial, salom ey jahon. Maydonga chiqar O'zbekiston. O'zbekiston, O'zbekiston. Seni qutlab butun jahon. O'zbekiston, O'zbekiston. Olg'a g'alaba tomon. Olg'a bol, bol, bol.
If someone were to ask me, what is Uzbek football? And I had to answer in just one word, my answer would be unity. If I had to answer in a single sentence, Uzbek football is not the fulfillment of a dream. It is the reward for generations who never stopped believing. But that is only my answer. So I asked the same question to the people who helped shape the history of Uzbek football. For you, Uzbek football is
my lifestyle, my life, my pain, offense, second heart, the honor and the pride of our homeland, love, patience, belief, and passion, art, the result of bitter experience. My life, I can see this is a way of life, way of lessons learned, defense direction. It's the song of Uzbekistan for me. My life, history, family, a dream, love for the homeland and pride. Its life, achievements, the biggest happiness, policy, pride, patience, dream and responsibility. Life, sensation.
His Excellency President Shavkat Mirziyoyev is here to see our team off on this historic journey. Bunyodkor Stadium is full. Thousands of supporters have gathered to wish Uzbekistan good luck before its first ever FIFA World Cup. What awaits Uzbekistan on football's greatest stage? Victory or defeat? No one can know. But one thing is certain. For the first time in our history, Uzbekistan has reached the FIFA World Cup. And that means the story of Uzbek football, which began many decades ago and continued through generations of hope, sacrifice and perseverance, does not end here. And the story of Uzbek football is only just beginning. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this documentary. Good luck, Team Uzbekistan, and see you at the World Cup!